Rob, for listeners who are new to this concept of gamification, how do you define gamification in simple words, and why do you think, most of all, it's powerful? It's a powerful tool for businesses today.
So there's no sort of, if you look up, digital marketing or marketing in general, there's books, that have the formal definition and so on. We have many books in the gamification field, but I don't think we've formally agreed anyway what's the actual definition. So I'll give you what I use in my classes and with my clients. It tends to be a bit of an umbrella. What I like to say is that, gamification is when you take the elements of games, game design, and play in general for purposes, and you use it for purposes that go beyond entertainment, right? Because games are usually their core they are an entertainment piece, right? So this is for things that can be entertaining as well, but that they go beyond. They want to do something else. You want to achieve some objective. You want to help people stay loyal to their own fitness. You want to help people stay, engaged with their own learning, for example. There's many ways in which this can work, but the idea is that those other objectives are there. And I think it's very relevant and very useful in today's, business and learning world in general, because if you think about it, games have been, and not only video games, which is what our minds tend to go straight to video games when you hear this, but games in general, sports, the Olympics that have been around for literally millennia, all these things, they have elements, they have ways of keeping those who are participating engaged in the best of ways, right? So you're really trying to get better, you're really trying to push. And there are so many instances in this world where we would benefit from that kind of reaction to product, services, NGOs, causes in general. There's many, many places where, and education definitely, which has been, for many years, it was the center, the core of my foundation, that would definitely benefit from having that power within them. That I think, it's hard to find a place where it would actually sort of not apply nowadays.
I see. Can you share an example of a gamified experience that you think is worth sharing or that left a strong impression on you as a specialist in the field?
I'll share two with you because they're very different. Now, one is, when you think of gamification, people tend to think of some heavily gamified, something that looks like a game. And something like Duolingo is like pretty obvious in that sense, right? You have a bunch of points, you have the streaks, you have the gems, you have a leaderboard, like you have a bunch of things that you would think of when you think of a game. And it's a very good example as well. I like to use this one because amongst many other things, they think of language learning in the way that I think, even though maybe some other people thought about it before, they didn't really have the tools to do that. And it's learning a language usually is all about regular practice. Whether you do half an hour a day or 5 minutes a day, it's always better than, getting to the end of the month and trying to catch up with, 8 hours of straight learning, because then you spend another month and I don't want to say you forget, but it's not as impactful and as strong as, taking those 30 minutes a day, again, 10 minutes a day. So they use a streak mechanic. You go in one day and then you go in the next day. Now you have a 2-day streak and then a 3-day and eventually a 100-day or a 1,000-day streak. And even if just to keep that streak going, you don't want to miss a day. You want to even log in those 5 minutes. You're at a dinner. It's late in the day and you sort of get off and go to the bathroom to just log in your 5 minutes. So I think it's very useful and it aligns very well the objectives of, I want to learn a language. So, to achieve it, I need to do this. And the objectives of the company, which of course is to keep people there and eventually probably pay some money to them through their different models. And the other one is LinkedIn. You wouldn't think of LinkedIn, and that's why I like these two separate examples. You wouldn't think of LinkedIn as a sort of gamified place or a game, and it depends on how you see it. But in general, people don't see it as a game, right? So when you logged in, I don't know if you remember when you created your LinkedIn account, they probably asked for you, I don't remember exactly, but it's probably something like the name, the email, and the password. And that's it, right? Seeing it now, you realize that your profile is not valuable just with that information. Not for you, not for LinkedIn, not for anybody. But it is also true that if in the registration form, it gave you all of the things that you then fill into your profile, you probably would have never signed up. So how do you bridge that gap, right? How do you go from having name, email, and password to having a full profile where you have absolutely everything that you need to have a great profile that gets noticed and so on? Well, you do it step by step. That's the first thing. But one thing they realized that had a huge impact, and programming it, there was a conference in which the programmer, one of the lead programmers there, was involved, and he said, look, the actual programming took like 10 minutes. But getting to that solution was what really gathered a lot of thought. And it was literally as simple as creating a progress bar where you see how far away you are from completing your profile. And it sparks your curiosity as well. You see and you say, I'm at like 2%. Why? I already gave you my name, my email, you have my password. What else do you want? Right? So if you click there, it tells you what's the next thing that you could do. And then, now you have 4%. Our brains are trying to complete things, right? You don't want to see an incomplete percentage. You don't want to feel that your profile is incomplete. So that's one of the things that got people to go there. And I don't know the numbers because I didn't work on that project and I didn't work at LinkedIn. But as far as I can remember, it was like 1,500% of what they had before was the conversion and the actual people getting to complete their profiles versus not having something like that. And again, I like it because of its relative simplicity in the implementation, right? You don't feel that you completely change the whole strategy of the app. It's not a super complicated thing, but then the impact can be significant if you do it right, if it's thoughtful, if it's not just slapping, game elements. What's a game element? A badge. You throw in badges and see what happens. They really thought about what they wanted to achieve and how it became valuable, again, to the user and to LinkedIn. Those two things come together. If your profile is more complete, you have a more valuable profile. And LinkedIn, of course, they have your data and all these things that works for them, especially at an aggregate level.